sleep trackers. The most optimal are the Whoop band and the Oura Ring. Maybe it's a preference thing for me, something that's pretty big and clunky, but I just haven't been a fan of that. So I heard a lot of people have had scratches from it. What's going on, people? So this episode's a little bit different. I've been using sleep trackers. I've been using an Oura Ring and a Whoop band, Whoop 3.0 band. The Oura Ring is the newer Oura Ring. I got it about 8 or 9 months ago. The Whoop band I've been wearing for the last, I would say, 5 months. Basically what I wanna do is I wanna talk about sleep trackers, how important it is to track your sleep, what it does for you, how it kind of keeps you on track. The famous management guru, Peter Drucker, always says what doesn't get tracked doesn't get managed. And so in this video, we're gonna go over the two of these, and I'm not gonna get super scientific on exactly the features of each of them per se, but I wanna show you what it feels like and how it works, and like what my experience has been with both of these, because I think a lot of people are interested in sleep optimization. They know how important it is, especially in the carnivore space. It's one of the big things with sunlight, your diet, and sleep. Like when you can bring those three things into optimal levels, you can really take advantage of where you want to go. So when we look at the sleep tracking devices, the two main ones that I've kind of researched and found to be most optimal are the Whoop band and the Oura Ring. And I want to go through my experience wearing them for the last 5 months, tracking my sleep every night with them, what I've found with the pros and cons of their dashboards, their features, how they track, which might be better, and then the costs and the benefits and all that. So stay tuned because we're gonna dive into this. So the first thing to know is that they're both wearables. There's a lot of wearables in the world now. Obviously I have an Apple Watch here on my wrist, and then the Whoop band actually sits a little bit beyond your wrist. You're supposed to wear it maybe like an inch off of your wrist, and it snaps on pretty straightforward. You can kind of see the device. We'll do a zoom up of this. It's a fairly thin, low profile device, and the Oura Ring is a very thin ring. It's actually a little thicker than a typical ring, but it has sensors you can kind of see on this. So here's a close-up of the Oura Ring. You can kind of see how it has its sensors built in here that sit on your ring finger. When you pick up the Oura Ring, they're actually gonna send you a kit to try on their different rings, and they're going to ask you for which size that you want. Then you'll send back the kit. It's like a simple plastic one to kind of determine the size that you want for your finger. The Whoop strap is a strap with sensors on the back. It wraps around your arm so that you can track your overall fitness. So both of these devices are designed for bio-tracking. The Whoop band is claiming that they're kind of the all-in-one, tracks everything you could possibly want to track because you're wearing it all the time. The Oura Ring is more situated for recovery and sleep quality tracking. For me personally, the last 5 months, I've been using both devices because I want to get a feel for both of them, but I've not been wearing my Oura Ring when I work out, and I haven't been using much of its tracking for fitness. What I have been doing is the Oura Ring will sync with your Apple Health. It will import in your exercise that you have from your watch. And what I do is I wear my watch, and I've been tracking my heart rate and things like that, because when you use your watch and you do workout mode on the watch, you can actually see in real time your heart rate. With the Whoop band, it'll show you your heart rate, but you have to have your phone open and you have to kind of bring the data there. There's no like display on the actual device. What's nice about the Whoop band, it's super light, it is low profile. I found that with the watch, you can actually buy an app on the iOS store called Auto Sleep. It's like $2, and I've used it before, and it does track my sleep really well. It shows you your deep sleep, your REM sleep, your total sleep, but I don't like wearing an Apple Watch when I'm sleeping. It just feels like I'm wearing something that's pretty big and clunky. Maybe it's a preference thing for me, but I just haven't been a fan of that. With the Whoop, it does feel like it's lower profile, it's not as thick, and it's lighter weight, so it just doesn't feel like I'm wearing as much. And then with the Ring, I feel like I'm just wearing a ring, so it's actually, in my opinion, and my personal preference, it's the best option for me when I'm actually sleeping, to just wear the ring. In fact, I kind of look forward to the days when I don't wear anything on my wrist, because I just like to sleep with less things. It just feels more comfortable. So both of these devices are pretty comfortable to wear. around the house when you're sleeping, when you're working out. But I find that the Oura Ring itself is not comfortable to hold when I'm actually wearing, when I'm like lifting weights. It just feels like I have something on my hand. I've also heard a lot of people have had scratches from it, and it just gets scuffed up when they're putting it on with weights. So I have worn it in the gym, and my gloves will kind of go over the edge of it, so it does protect it, but I still feel like there's more pressure on that ring finger. So I don't actually wear the Oura Ring when I'm working out. Instead, I just wear my Apple Watch, and then I've been wearing the Whoop band. The Whoop band, just kind of wear it all the time. It's very effective in terms of just being able to just be on your wrist and kind of be out of the way. But again, it's something on your wrist, so when you're sleeping, you have this big kind of device that's sitting on your wrist to track things. I have my Oura and Whoop dashboards up here on the web client. Now I'm gonna show you in a moment the mobile views as well. But as far as the Oura Ring goes, when you log in at cloud.ouraring.com, you come to your dashboard. And on your dashboard, a lot of it's just gonna be focused mainly on your sleep and your readiness score, your recovery. So it's gonna look at lowest resting heart rate. It's gonna look at your total sleep, your activity. It'll pull in activity from your Apple Watch if you have it synced up. I think mine kind of got out of sync recently, but overall, it will pull that information in. And then what's cool is they'll give you kind of a breakdown of your heart rate throughout the night. Sometimes my ring gets a little loose, but my ring for the most part will track pretty much everything as long as I kind of like make sure it's stuck to a thick part of my finger. And it'll show you your body temperature and your respiratory rate, which from the research I've done is very accurate. I've heard that they use a red PPG sensor, which is more accurate potentially than the green PPG sensor that Whoop uses. Some of the big variables I'm looking for in sleep have to do with the amount of REM sleep I got that night. That usually kind of mentally gives me how clear and rested I actually feel. Deep sleep is also important for physical recovery. Efficiency is something I'm trying and looking into. I still haven't really found the best way to hack this, but I do think cold exposure is a huge one. And I think if anything, that's one of the best ways to bump up your sleep efficiency and get better deep and even some better REM sleep overall. The Whoop band is a little bit more advanced in the sense that they have more metrics. Now, the funny thing is when I got my Whoop band, the first one they sent me wouldn't track my sleep accurately. It wouldn't give me any data for my REM, my deep sleep. It just didn't show any of that. So if I click here into my sleep section, it shows you time in bed. See, this is not accurate. Now, that doesn't mean that it's not always inaccurate, but I definitely did not sleep 12 hours yesterday. I went to bed, I think my Whoop band told me I was going to bed, what time did it say? You can kind of see here, I went to bed around 10:45, and then I was up at around 7, I kind of got out of bed around 7 or so. But the Whoop band had me going to bed at 7:30, which just isn't accurate. I wasn't in bed at 7:30. I was up moving around. I don't think I took the band off. So it's interesting. Sometimes it doesn't show that. As far as respiratory rate, 15.1 on the Oura, 15.6 on the Whoop. As far as the other factors, they really have like a weekly performance assessment, a monthly performance assessment, and then they show you your recovery score. So they kind of try to break it down, and this is more geared towards people who are kind of maybe extreme athletes looking for, you know, something where they can overall recover. The catch is you have to go into the Whoop app and kind of track everything you're going to do. So if you do plan on going for a run, it won't just automatically pick it up. And personally, I find that I always wear my watch because I want to be aware of the time and what's on my schedule. And the Apple Watch has a great heads-up display. And it also, one of the quick shortcuts I have on my watch is just the workout option. So when I go to the gym, it's very easy for me to just turn my wrist, push one button on my watch, and then I essentially can just select a workout that I'm going to do, and it will give me the display on my heart rate, on my sort of calories burned. Obviously, that's a little bit maybe not the most accurate, but it's easier than having to go pull out my phone, select the Whoop band, select a workout type. It's just an easier thing for me to do. But what they do is they show recovery here, and they base it, I think, on your previous heart rates, your heart rate variability, and what percentage you have of sleep. They look at your strain. Obviously today I haven't had a workout. Sunday I worked out, but it doesn't look like it tracked the workout on Sunday, which is interesting. And the weekly PA will show you kind of your weekly performance assessment. So it's going to show you kind of your overall charting of your where you've been with sleep, where you've been with your day strain. The monthly PA will kind of download a whole summary report. So this is kind of cool because it does break it down and give you some pretty cool metrics here. I really think the Whoop band is meant for someone who is a very high level athlete, because the Oura Ring is fantastic when it comes to just the sleep tracking aspect of it. And it does help with the readiness information in showing me like my resting heart rate, my average heart rate variability, my temperature of my body, but it's not necessarily going to calculate totally everything here. And so the Whoop will give you a chance to sort of add in other things. There's some surveys in there where you can say, hey, I drank caffeine this night. I had alcohol. I had symptoms of COVID. And then it kind of gives you a chart of details around, zones and things like that. So it does give you some interesting data here. To be fair, I haven't invested a ton of energy in the Whoop band. It's not a beginner tool in my experience. The Oura Ring is very simple to use. There's no sort of settings. The data downloads instantly to my phone within a matter of maybe 15 or 20 seconds. The Whoop band will take several minutes. All right, so one more thing I want to mention about the Oura and the Whoop band, and this is something I kind of forgot to mention in my initial video, was that the Oura Ring gives you an airplane mode. The Whoop band does not. So when you're sleeping with the Whoop band, you're getting blasted with Bluetooth the entire time. And with Oura Ring, you can turn it on and off throughout the day, and it can collect the data and not communicate to your phone. I know the Whoop band does that as well because it will download data from the actual device, but they don't have a feature built into the app where you can actually turn the device onto airplane mode. So for me, that's a big deal breaker. I'm not trying to sleep with a bunch of EMF in my bed right on my hand while I'm resting. I really want to kind of mitigate non-natural EMF, and that's a whole nother discussion, but it's just not a priority it's a really important priority for me to kind of turn off all devices, unplug Wi-Fi signals, and any sort of devices that might emit radiation or EMF when I'm sleeping. I think for many people, they may not look at that as big of a deal, but for me, especially trying to get more ancestrally consistent, it's just not something we would have experienced. And there is quite a bit of stuff coming out about EMF and 5G and what it can do to us for long-term damage. So for me, it's something I want to avoid and mitigate as much as possible, which is another reason why I'm much more sold on the idea of the Oura Ring. So here you can see the Oura app. It's pretty straightforward. You come to your home screen and you have a couple of different things. The big thing that you look at usually is going to be your readiness score, which is built out into a tab here down on the bottom, as well as your sleep. Now your readiness score is going to really break it down for you and show you, okay, 84, that's pretty good. I have never seen a readiness score above, say, like a 95. I have had a 95. In fact, I think I had one a few days ago on Saturday or Sunday, right there. And it's based on where your body temperature is, what your heart rate variability, what your respiratory rate is, kind of what your resting heart rate is. It's kind of looking at all these factors here of your heart rate, HRV, your body temperature, your recovery index, and kind of factoring in all these variables. So for today, you can see I have a readiness of 84. The sleep score wasn't the most optimal. HRV looks like it was pretty decent. It's sort of calculating it based on, I believe, the previous data that it's been experiencing, so it can kind of base that on your own sort of metrics. These numbers are oftentimes very personalized. HRV can be very different between individuals, not necessarily because one person is much healthier than the other, but just because that person has a genetic or biological makeup that just gives them a higher score of variability on their heart rate. Usually, generally speaking, it's better to have a higher HRV because it just allows it kind of a sign that your nervous system in general is able to respond. And so, if you're stressed or you're working out a lot, that's going to change. So that is your readiness area. what you're gonna see here is when you go to sleep, there's a lot of really good data in here. And I find that it's extremely accurate to when I do actually go to bed and when I wake up. Last night I went to bed, I don't have to do anything on my Oura Ring except put it on and go to bed. And it will know, it senses kind of when you've stopped moving, when you've slowed down, and when you're kind of laying down and when you're going to bed. And then it tracks your stages. So it tracks when you're kind of, your breathing and your heart rate and all of that kind of goes up and down. It looks at your heart rate throughout the night, and it shows you kind of where your heart rate was as you go through the evening. And then what's really cool is it calculates your REM and your deep sleep, which is going to speak to your physical recovery as well as kind of more of your mental recovery. And then it tells you kind of how your timing was for when is optimal for you to sleep, and if you were restful and how efficient you were sleeping. Sometimes when efficiency gets really high, you know you've been underslept, you've been limiting your sleep. And what's great too is it'll go through multiple days, and you can kind of go back and reference data very quickly and very easily on both your overall readiness score as well as your sleep score. So you can kind of see where you're doing and how your metrics look. When I was sick with COVID earlier this month, my body temperature, I woke up and it was higher, it was elevated. It was at 1 degree above, 1.2 degree above for the first couple of days that I had symptoms. My respiratory rate was a little higher than normal. It was elevated, closer to 17 per minute. Now you can click on any of these days and you can go in and see weekly readiness score trends, how the month is looking. This could be because I was dealing with COVID earlier this month. Let's see if I can go in here and look at the weekly. You can kind of see where you land average. What's interesting is when we were on the desktop, I actually had a window of time where I was doing a lot of cold exposure and I could see my readiness score was higher. My sleep scores were better. I think the Oura app is much more intuitive. I think it's much better for the vast majority of people who are tracking sleep quality and recovery. So for the Whoop band, it's interesting. You'll come here and there's kind of a dashboard. It's not as intuitive, right? You're kind of looking at your overall dashboard here, and then you're looking at your sleep performance, your day strain, so how much physical activity you've done that day, your recovery index, your specific sleep performance, which you can click into, and you can see here that it thinks that I went to bed at 8:30 last night. Now that's not accurate. Sometimes it does that. Most of the time it's pretty good. If I go back yesterday, it will show better numbers. It will show you that I went to bed, let's see here, 11 o'clock and woke up at 7:30. That's probably more accurate to what I normally would. And what's great is when you, again, are on this far panel here under your sleep performance, what you need is kind of listed here to kind of show you some of the metrics there and what you got and what it looks like in terms of REM versus deep sleep, hour and a half. This was yesterday. If we go to the Oura Ring and we look at my sleep score from yesterday, we can see hour and 15, hour and 17 from yesterday. And the Whoop band shows an hour and 35 minutes of each. So it's not far off from what I would expect. Now, if I go to Sunday, it will show that I did 8.5 hours. I had 3 hours of REM and 2 hours of deep. If I go to my Oura Ring and I look at my sleep on Sunday, it will show, again, like I had more deep sleep and I had almost 2 hours of REM. So the numbers are fairly accurate, although it says that I have 30 minutes. It says that I have 30 minutes more deep sleep and an hour less of REM sleep. And I do feel like, since wearing both these devices, that the Oura Ring has been more consistent on when I'm going to bed, when I wake up, which makes me feel more confident because it is more consistent in that respect on my deep sleep and my REM sleep. And to be fair, some of this is going to be placebo on how I feel, but I also do think that the Oura is better at telling me how much REM I got and how much deep sleep I got. So we can compare one more day here and look at Saturday and go and look at that. And I've got almost 2.5 hours of REM, 2 hours of deep. And then if we go to the Oura and look at Saturday, I've got 2 hours of deep and an hour and a half of REM. So it's calculating almost an extra hour of REM and another, let's see here, it says 1 hour 56 minutes of deep. I had 2 hours and 3 minutes. The deep is pretty much on the same chart. If we look at Friday, just as a final comparison here, and I look at my sleep performance, you'll see that I did 2 hours of each. And on the Oura, I have a little over 2 hours of each. So again, total sleep 7.5 hours. It says my time in bed was 9 hours, that I got 7 hours and 50 minutes of sleep. So those are, again, there's probably gonna be some variance because, you know, who is properly tracking sleep? We're kind of still figuring that all out. But in general, I find that the Oura app is much cleaner. And the data on the Whoop band is definitely pretty valuable. It seems like it covers a lot, but it takes time to load. And it also is not as intuitive because there's so many menus and options here. The recovery index, if we go to today, just to compare apples to apples, shows that I'm at a 93, and that makes sense. Yesterday I worked out, on Sunday I worked out really hard, and so my recovery was lower because I did a really heavy training on that day. And you can see that in my Oura, it was reflected on my readiness score. My readiness dropped to a 75, probably means that, you know, hey, you worked out hard, so you are gonna need to recover a bit and give your body some rest. So on the recovery index, if you click on it, you can slide up and you can sort of see down below what the percentage looks like. It shows you kind of how you've been comparing to the last week, your HRV, your resting heart rate. And then the other metric that you see is day strain. This really just shows you what sort of strain you've had that day. So today is Tuesday. It's 1 o'clock. I haven't worked out. I've just been focused on working my mind and doing some projects and recording this and doing some other stuff. But I'll work out later today. So you can kind of see day by day, if it picks up strain, it'll kind of show you what's going on with that. As far as your sleep, it kind of shows you your overall here. And on the front, there's kind of a dashboard. It shows you your age and when you were a member and, you know, day strains. And it's going to show you kind of your HRV range and your resting heart rate, as well as your recent sleep performance. The one thing that's really cool about the Whoop that I do like is you can join teams. So if you have friends that have Whoop bands, you can join their team and you can see what their recovery index is and you can see what their strain is looking like. So you can kind of compare, especially if you're in a group or you're working with a team for a specific training of some sort, you can get more data that way. So that in respect is pretty cool. So I'm going to summarize a few other features that they have. The Whoop 3.0 has a battery life of 4 to 5 days. It will track sleep, recovery, HRV, performance. It will track your calories, how many times you wake up, your REM, your deep, your light sleep, your efficiency of sleep. It also puts all those things together in a nice sort of dashboard. The Oura Ring is gonna have 2 to 3 days of charge if you wear it all the time and you're tracking everything. It has an infrared lens, it has a gyroscope, it has a motion sensor. It also has an NTC body temperature sensor and an accelerometer. And I find that the Whoop band and the app for the Whoop device is very cumbersome. It's very challenging. It's not intuitive. It's kind of poorly designed. If you go to it, you have a dashboard with a bunch of data, and unless you're like a pro who really wants it customized, it just doesn't make a lot of sense for the average healthy person from my perspective. You load Oura, it tells you your readiness score, it tells you your sleep quality, and that's the data you get right there, and then you kind of get your stages for what your sleep is. With the Whoop band, you're flipping through days. I still don't understand the app fully, and I've tried to understand it. In fact, I've been wanting to make this video for months, but I just didn't go through the process because I was a little bit annoyed at how difficult it was for me to actually understand Whoop. And I consider myself a fairly savvy person, someone who's fairly in touch with some basic biohacking, where it shouldn't be that hard for me. It wasn't hard, but at the same time, there's a learning curve there. And I think for a lot of people, it's kind of overkill. It's way too much. And like, I think it'd be better if they made an app that was simpler. It brought you data in a simple way, but then you could go to a more advanced, like say professional level if you really wanted to. But this thing is kind of built to do all that. The other thing is the apps themselves. The Oura Ring app will load in about 15 to 20, maybe 30 seconds, all the data. It does not delay. The Whoop band, I have to sit there and wait for my phone to load for minutes. It will take time to calculate all this information and load the data. So I don't know, I can't really just get the data right away when I first start. So for me, the Oura Ring is a much better device for the vast majority of people because of its simplicity and frankly, the accuracy. This is my second Whoop 3.0 band that I've had. I had to go through customer support to tell them, hey, my sleep tracker wasn't tracking. You saw throughout the examples I was demoing that it wasn't even tracking my sleep totally accurately. And I've worked with support to get it to wear it the right way. And I've gone with them. And for the most part, it does track accurately. So I don't want to knock it for that. But what I would say is the delay in the app, the fact that it's not streamlined. And then when we talk about price, the Oura Ring is $299 if you get the black or the silver. It's $399 if you get the stealth. The only difference is the color, which is like a matte finish. That's a one-time cost. And then you have the device and you can use it for the life of the device and get access to the data. The Whoop band, they want you on a subscription. They're gonna charge you 30 bucks a month for life on this thing. So you have to commit to 6 months on the Whoop band at $30 a month. It's $180 just to use it. And then when you're done with those 6 months, you still have to pay them for a dashboard that frankly, in my opinion, isn't as helpful for what I'm using it for. Now, if you're an extreme athlete, again, I think this could be a great tool. If you're someone who really wants to know their athletic performance and really their strain and their recovery and focus on that, for me, I think I get more than enough valuable data with the Oura Ring on my readiness score and my sleep. And I feel like the Oura Ring updates faster. It's much more comfortable to wear when I'm sleeping. And on top of that, I'm not paying for it monthly. I don't have a subscription to like sign up for the rest of my life to track my metrics. They're making me pay for the hardware and I'm making that investment and then I can use the device. And fundamentally, I just feel like that is something that as a consumer, I appreciate when a company is willing to offer a product in that fashion. So I know this is a little bit of a different video. It wasn't about nutrition, but these metrics are valuable. Oftentimes in my stories on Instagram or even in my videos, I talk about how my tracker showed an elevated respiratory rate or heart rate, or I didn't get this kind of recovery, or I didn't get this quality of sleep. And as we go through future videos where I'm gonna be showcasing, like for example, how to build your own cold plunge, or I talk about red light therapy, sauna exposure, different ways to optimize athletic performance, tweaking my diet, experimenting with different nootropics and things like that. It's fun to see the data and to see what it does to my actual biology. So let me know what you think. Have you tried the Whoop or the Oura Ring? Comment below. Let me know your experience. Do you feel the same I do as far as the apps and the data updates? Do you feel like it's confusing for you when you're going into the Whoop and you're trying to figure out all this data? Do you feel like the Whoop is really great? From the forums I read and from the data I read, most people like the Whoop a lot in terms of people that were really interested in this stuff, which makes sense because people who are probably blogging or writing about this are gonna be more fascinated with the data. And I think the Whoop probably gives you more features, but at the end of the day, I think the Oura Ring is probably the best tool for carnivores and people who are just looking for those basic metrics on sleep. As a side note, you can also buy an app on the iOS store with the Apple Watch and you can track your sleep and it's fairly accurate. It's called Auto Sleep and that's a $2 app. So I'll put that in the link description down below so you can reference that. And if you're new to the channel, check out some of the products that we're affiliated with. We have discounts for great things like White Oak Pastures, US Wellness Meats, Sauna Space with the red light therapy, and we also have some excellent books if you're looking for free resources, as well as some paid resources to optimize sleep, diet, and I will see you on the next one.